When journalists are targeted, societies as a whole pay a price. Without journalists able to do their work in safety, we face the prospect of a world of confusion and in disinformation. These are the words of UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres yesterday as the world marked International Day to End Impunity of Crimes Against Journalists. On that note, we welcome you to this week's installment of Press Conference right here on Citi TV, where journalists gather to dissect and analyze the major press briefings, government press briefings and others in the course of the week under review. My name is Duke Mensah Opoku. In this edition, Information Minister's press briefings first this week focused on funding to end floods under the Accra Resilient City and Reintegrated Development Project. As this week we saw some floods, the Accra-Tema motorway totally cut off by floods, among other natural disasters that occurred this week. We'll look at that. Also, the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, that is ISSER, came up with its economic outlook for the year and also looking into the 2020 budget year. Of course, government also had cause to respond to some criticisms that came up against its flagship programs as raised at that ISSER forum. And finally, we'll look at the matter of the alleged illegal recruitments into the security agencies, that alarm being raised by the minority, of course, a response also coming in from government. These are the issues that we'll be looking at right here on Press Conference. The show is live and interactive. You can join us with your messages via WhatsApp 05505858320, 05505858320. On Twitter, the hashtag is Press Conference. You can also join us via the Facebook stream. Drop your comments and we would do justice to them for you right here on the program. We'll take a break. When I come back, I would introduce my guest and we'll delve into the issues. Stay with us. Welcome back to the program Press Conference right here on Citi TV. Joining me to the discussions in studio, I have with me to my immediate left is Franklin Badu Jnr, a journalist formerly of Citi 97.3. Welcome.
Thank you, Duke.
Next to him is security correspondent here at Citi FM and Citi TV, Anas Sheba Seidu. Anas, welcome.
Thank you, Duke.
And to my far left is Cecil Obodai Wentum, host of Breakfast Drive on Unique FM. Welcome.
Thank you, Duke.
Yes. So we'll begin the discussions of course, the program from the Information Ministry. This week there was a press briefing, the minister's press briefing, of course, responding to the matters that have come up regarding flooding in the city this week. We've been experiencing some rains, of course, albeit in October, we're in November, but in October we had quite unusual streak of rains there, which was predicted, of course, by the Meteorological Service Department. But what has been government's response, or what is government's grand plan to deal with this issue? Minister of Information, Kojo Okwankroma.
Cabinet has approved a $200 million facility for the Accra Resilient and Integrated Development Project. 4 ministries are spearheading this project. They include the Works and Housing Ministry, that is chairing the Interministerial Committee on this, Sanitation and Water Resources, Zongo Development, and Local Government. Now, among their respective roles, the Works and Housing Ministry is using its share of the fund to handle drainage of key water outlets, including the Odo River that has been spoken about for many years. Finally, it has been approved, while the Sanitation Ministry will be responsible for the construction of transfer stations and a new landfill site in the Greater Accra region. The project is also expected to improve flood risk management and solid waste management around the Odo Basin of the Greater Accra region and improve access to basic infrastructure and services in the targeted communities within the basin. On a larger scale, some of the expected outcomes include improved solid waste management, improved basic infrastructure and services in targeted communities, and also it will serve as an annual grant targeted through the MMDAs, I beg your pardon, for the enhancement of revenue strategies improvement of municipal finance and budgeting, as well as capacity development.
Kojo Opoku, there are other things that were said at that press briefing, but we'll be coming to it later on the show. Let me begin with Cecil. It's quite unusual this year, the kind of rains we've seen, even in October. Let me find out from you what you experienced with the floods have been. The rains this time.
In the community, let me first say good evening to our viewers. In the community where I live, I have experienced very terrible rains. And not only in my community, but it's been a national issue and a concern for all of us as media people, because every morning you will have to pick up information or reports from Ghana Meteo to, as it were, alert your listeners to know the kind of situation we find ourselves in. And we have been told that it's going to stay like this till December. And what it means is that we need to brace ourselves. But there's a challenge as far as our country is concerned in managing some of these perennial, floods. And I am also aware that year in, year out, we've had governments coming in to pump money to desilt our gutters. But the question is that, is it the radical solution that will solve the perennial flooding problems in this country? I guess the answer is no. So just as a friend of mine was sharing with me not too long ago, he said, look, politicians are very interesting people. And as and when they go and others come in, they find a way of making it work for their cronies, their friends, and whatever. I don't want to believe that that is the kind of pattern we have experienced. But Duke, I can tell you, not too long ago, we were told how much money was pumped in the region of millions, as far as Ghana City is concerned, to desilt our drains.
But this time around, the approach looks different. We have about 3 or 4 ministries coming together to put in place a multi-pronged approach, multifaceted approach towards dealing with this.
I'm happy you have mentioned
serious
it.
Challenge, yes.
I'm happy you have mentioned it. I want to put the AMA boss on record. 2018, he said it in the month of May, that AMA had spent 1.5 billion Ghana cedis to desilt gutters in Accra. What has changed? Nothing. 2018, when 2019, how many months away from May? We're in November. We're hearing that another amount of money again. And this time around, it is coming from International Development Association. It's a facility that has been given to us. It is not money that was raised from our local economy, if I may put it that way. But it's a money that is being given to us by the World Bank for us to see how we can address it. And I'm happy you have said that we're going to look at it from a multifaceted approach to see how we can. And we've been told that 4 ministries are to spearhead the project. They mentioned works and housing. They mentioned sanitation and water resources. They mentioned the Zango ministry or they mentioned local government. And in all of these ministries they've talked about, works and housing will use its share of the fund to handle drainage of key water outlets, including the Odo River. How many times haven't we heard the Odo River being dredged? How many times haven't we heard that we're going to see some of the major drains within the city? We are aware Accra is below sea level. Yeah. We are aware, but you see, when it comes to attitudes, all of us, you, myself, our relations have all contributed to the kind of mess we find within the city when it comes to flooding, because anytime it rains, we see the repercussions because our drains are choked. And again, I ask, how come moving forward we're constructing more drains and we still find open drains and not closed drains or covered drains, if I may ask?
All right. Let me come to you, Franklin. $200 million, Accra Resilient Project. I mean, of course, I was thinking it would go beyond that, because this time around, or this year, the floods have not only, bedeviled Accra with head of Cape Coast. Last week, UCC had to lectures had to be stopped or halted for more than a day because of floods. Kumasi, we heard of what happened there. Upper East, close to 30 lives. And then Accra, same old issue, $200 million.
Duke, I believe as a country, we are not serious, and we've never been serious about addressing this flood situation in this country. We are not serious. Like, we are just not serious.
Okay, just last week there was flooding in London. There was flooding in London. Is that to say that they are also not serious?
See, you can blame citizens. You can. I don't believe in the blame game attitude against citizens. Mm-hmm. Let me start from this premise. At least for the last 10 years, under President Mills, there's this structure I've been seeing. There was this system I see all the time. There will be floods. Politicians will go for tours. Then they will put in a big figure in the media. 100 and this amount has been secured to the sales gutters to improve infrastructure and all that. I saw the same thing under Mahama. I'm seeing the same thing now. The difference is I've not seen the president touring. At least you saw the vice president tour at the Upper East. Yeah. And it is the same formula all the time. It's the same formula all the time. It's 2019. Do you have to spend millions of dollars in the certain gutters and so-called improving drainage in Accra? Does it really make sense to us? The point is that we can point to the fact there's a problem of attitude because we do not enforce our laws. Yeah. There's a reason why when you go to Washington or when you go to Atlanta or Chicago, you can't do certain things in those places with respect to sanitation. Yeah. There's a reason why when you come to Ghana, you can easily litter around. There's a reason why foreigners come to Ghana from these Western countries and also decide to litter around because there is no system to check that attitude. It's because of an attitude. That is why God brought the 10 Commandments. It's because of our attitude. That is why we have a constitution. That's how we have bylaws. And the solution to enforcing the laws is not to throw $200 million to us. And it's a loan facility. It's not a gift to you. It's something that we may pay in the coming years.
Portion of it, there's a grant element.
But at the end, there's a component that we are going to pay back. And all the things we could borrow for is to the sales gutters. And you see,
people are dying as a result of.
Which people are dying?
People.
I have my suspicions as to some of the figures being churned out. One particular region, I'll not mention the name for obvious reasons, we're told X amount of people had died. Last week, I spoke to people right on the ground who told me that X amount of people, as claimed by government, had not died. It is clear that some people possibly may have manufactured figures to make some money. When there's a problem, the only thing that comes into our mind, whenever there's a problem of flooding, the only thing, you don't need to associate yourself with this. I'm saying that when there's a problem in this country, it be flooding or whatever, the first thing is procurement, $200 million. That's the first that comes to our mind though. Whenever there's a problem, the first thing we throw into the media is a figure and procurement. That's our solution. It doesn't appear that there's this concrete, sincere plan to solve anything. You can't tell me that the flood that happened on the motorway is only because of gutters. Look, people are building along the flanks of the motorway. It's so nasty to drive on the motorway these days. We are watching. We are seeing it happen. The Roads and Highways Minister, I remember last year at the Tema motorway construction, was boasting. We'll take them out in 3 months, 4 months. And people are building. Look, I'm sure there are more than 10,000 structures between the far ends of the motorway. And we are seeing it. It's about enforcement. Then we'll let them be there. Then later on, there'll be another $300 million to resettle them.
Full estates, I imagine.
Exactly. And it is clear it's an issue of leadership. Right from the low to the top. It's a clear issue of leadership and enforcement of laws. It has nothing to do with $200 million. So we get it wrong from the word go. And when you do things like this, we'll come and discuss flooding every year. Bernard has been discussing flooding for how many years now on radio? Next year, trust me, we'll discuss flooding next year. Possibly next year, we should just record some of these programs and replay it. It happens next year. And there is no sign of leadership. The solution is not procurement. The solution is not throwing $200 million. That is more than 1 billion Ghana cedis. You are saying Accra, more than 1 billion Ghana cedis. And you see, you have become so corrupt as a people. You have become so loosely managed as a people. You have become so unintelligent when it comes to leadership in this country over the years, such that we just mentioned $200 million loosely, $200 million. As if it's no money. For what? Building resilience in Accra. It's common sense, excuse me to say. It's about leadership. It's about enforcement. This has nothing to do with money.
And for you, we don't have that.
We don't have that. We are bankrupt with ideas. We are bankrupt with sincerity. We are bankrupt with honesty. So any problem we face in our life, look, Ghana, if there's a problem of adultery in Ghana, our solution is a sum of money and procurement.
I may not be tempted to think like the way you are doing on this issue. And as let me come to you. $200 million, a multifaceted approach, 4 ministries to administer these funds. What kind of results are you expecting?
First of all, Duke, we must admit that issues of floods are a national problem that we must tackle, find solution to once and for all. But if you look at the approach over the years, it's like it's been the same. I don't think we should be here celebrating an announcement by the information minister that cabinet has approved 200 million to tackle floods. Duke, let me take you back. In April this year, the Minister for Works and Housing says, look, we are expecting $200 million to augment the 17 million that we have as a ministry, as a budget, to help solve the flood problems in Accra. Okay. The AMA boss, on the point of view, around that same time, said the same thing. Before the rains, we had an interview with the man in charge of forecast, and he said the rains this year will be heavy. Yeah. And he also spoke about the 200 million that was also coming. Fast forward, from April to today, the rains are over, or almost over.
They are not over.
Okay, they are almost over.
Well,
considering the time they started.
Even this morning it rained in my area.
Yeah, but if you consider the time the rain started and now, it's almost over. And we are still announcing that we've approved money. I think today, what we expected to hear from the minister was announcement of the things they are doing on the ground.
Now this is part
that
of
we
it.
Can
this
see.
This is part of it.
No. This is like the 4th announcement. 3 from government people. We don't need that. Apart from him announcing to us that we have 200 million, what else? Do we have a structure on how it will be spent?
Yes, that's why there are 4 ministries that are going to coordinate this with the Ministry of Works and Housing being the coordinating ministry.
Have you seen a plan?
The whole redevelopment project is a plan on its own, which is receiving $200 million of funding. So don't say there's no plan in place.
Go and look at the budget.
That would be
no plan.
Look, Duke, please go and look at the budget that ISSER himself called for to tackle the issues of flooding in Accra. How much was it?
He mentioned 1.5 billion at a point. That is what will be needed to tackle
$1 billion.
$1 billion.
Is that what we are giving him today?
Well, that's what he meant. Holistically, to be able to address all the problems of.
So it means that what we are even doing now is still window dressing. It can't solve the problem.
Okay, we'll take a break here. This is still press conference. We'll come back and look at the other major press briefings in the course of this week. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is press conference right here on Citi TV. I still have in studio Franklin, Anas, and Cecil. Just gone by, we're discussing government's approach towards dealing with the floods. Some $200 million allocated under the Accra Resilient City and Redevelopment Project. Well, now though, let's move to the state of the Ghanaian economy. Well, ISSER conducted its research, published the report for 2018-2019 Economic Outlook, the State of the Ghanaian Economy Report, where it had cause to raise some issues about government's flagship project. It also raised issues about expenditure and what do you call it? Revenue. Yes, revenue mobilization, for the fact that government over the past few years has been underperforming when it comes to revenue collection, and its repercussions for some of government's ambitious flagship programs. Well, the Ministry of Information responded to that, to some of the comments that were made at that event. But before we watch the response of the minister at that press briefing this week, let's first join Dr. Aka of ISSER presenting some of the critical areas of that report put together by ISSER.
National discussion about some of the government flagship programs. Given that we don't have the resources, we are missing all the revenue targets. We want to go beyond 8, and we are not able to raise enough tax revenue in this country. We need to discuss free SHS again. We need to discuss the issue of NAPCO, whether that is a sustainable way of creating jobs and all the people we put there and we are paying them. We need to discuss some of the ministries that we have set up to see whether they still need to exist. What is the Ministry for Inner City and Zongo Development? Is it really relevant? What are they doing? We need to have a discussion about the Ministry of Evaluation. Ministry of Evaluation. What are they evaluating? We need to have a discussion about the Ministry for Regional Reorganization and all the amount of money we are spending there.
The government's view at this point in time is that the free SHS program is a heritage of the Ghanaian child. It's not something that is being given necessarily to the poor parent today. It has nothing to do with the financial status of your parent. It is a heritage of the Ghanaian child as it stands now. If the government has a view to review that particular position, it will do it as time goes along. But as we speak now, the free senior high school program is a heritage of the Ghanaian child, that every Ghanaian child, once you are a Ghanaian child, the state has a responsibility to ensure that you benefit from basic education, which has now been redefined to include senior high school education. And so we hear loud and clear the very good feedback about the need to target, etc. There are views, that may be diverse, sometimes even within government, as I'm sure you have heard. But the official view of government at this point in time is that it is the heritage of the Ghanaian child. It is not necessarily based on whether your parents are rich or poor. It is to ensure that every Ghanaian child, whether your parents are rich or poor, alive or dead, from the north or the south, you benefit from quality education up to senior high school level.
Free SHS is a heritage of the Ghanaian child. So says Kojo Opoku, Minister for Information. Before that, we had Dr. Charles Aka on some critical areas that they think government should relook at in terms of the economy coming out of ISSER's economic outlook. Let me come to the studio. Let me begin with you, Franklin. That should be a refreshing position for government to take, looking at how the free SHS has been touted as government's trump card towards securing the future generations of this country.
I know for a fact, or we know for a fact, that it's expensive funding this free SHS education program.
But 1.2 billion over the period.
With many who are suggesting means testing and targeting and all kinds of things, the free SHS program, saying that those who can afford should pay for it, making it look like, an informal economy like yours where you can't even target taxpayers, an informal economy, an economy like yours where you can't even target your citizens. How are you going to evaluate every application and know who can afford it and who can't afford it? And what is wrong if the state comes out with a program that every citizen can afford, whether rich, poor, middle income, lower income, or upper income? What is wrong if there's a social policy that encapsulates all of us? Why do you want to do means testing with this program? Number one, you don't even have the resources to determine that. Even in this country, how many jobs are added in this country or are lost every month? We can't even determine that. So how are you going to even do means testing? For me, it's not possible with the kind of structure, inefficient structure we have enhanced over the years. It's not possible.
How do you pay for something you don't have money for?
Of course you don't have money for it. How do you pay for it? The argument
if you do the analysis, we are not meeting our revenue targets.
You see,
and it's costing us conservatively $400 million every $400 million cedis every year.
I watched the interview
for free SHS.
I watched the interview with the Minister of Finance with Bernard on Point of View, and it's clear that we don't meet our revenue targets. It's possible that we are being over ambitious with our targets. It's possible, but I'm saying that the fact that we are not meeting our revenue targets doesn't mean that a pro-poor or a good social policy like free SHS should be reviewed in any way under current circumstances. I disagree. Number two, I agree with ISSER 1,000% when they say that we have a lot of useless ministries and useless political portfolios. I agree. Why did we have to delink Ministry of Aviation, Ministry of Railway from Ministry of Transport? To achieve what? What is the use of Ministry of Special Development? What is the use of the Zongo Ministry? Why do we have the reorganization of, what's the name of the
reorganization?
Why do you have that ministry? Why nothing annoys me in all these portfolios than Ministry of Business Development? Nothing annoys me more than that.
Have you not seen
What are they doing? All they are doing is to have innovation, blah, blah, blah. Are we saying these pitch things they are doing? We can't have a desk at the Ministry of Trade and Industry that can do all this. You can't tell me the economy like Ghana, we need 123 ministers to do what?
These are offices.
To do what?
These are offices
and
under the
that
president.
all these offices that you have, they have a staff under them. Not even look. I think what's even annoying to me in my life is to hear Minister of Procurement. I don't know. Look, that's the most annoying thing. It can be an office, but she has personnel working under her. There's a budget for that particular office.
Just like all other units.
They are exactly my point. I'm saying that if you have an opportunity to cut down the number of ministries, why don't you do so? You're a country that goes around begging for funds. And with the social studies mantra of Ghana beyond aid, you just put anything Ghana beyond aid. But your attitude does not reflect a country that wants to live beyond aid. You're a country that goes around begging for money. But you're the same country when your officials and their PAs and their staffs are traveling out of the country. They sit in first class, they sit in business class, and they sleep in 5-star hotels. The same person claims to be poor. The same person claims there's no money. And our solution to some of these things is to tax the poor. I mean, the same people who are being taxed are the same people who are being taxed all the time. So, on this note, Duke, I like to blame Ghanaians. I feel that we have accepted mediocre, including myself, we have accepted the mediocre. So anything the state does to us, we accept it. In Lebanon, there was an introduction of a tax on WhatsApp. What's happened? In Chile, what's happening in Chile now? In Ghana, our discontent is not about the fact that CST has been increased from 6 to 9%. It's like you're okay with it. Our discontent was the fact that I'm coming. Our discontent was the fact that it had been charged upfront. But the details of the fact that CST had been introduced, we are okay, we are relaxed. We have been having this mantra.
For the record, even that has
the same people who have been attending Ivy League schools in the US and the UK. The same people have been attending Ivy League universities in the UK. From Kwesi till now, I don't know any finance minister who has attended an Ivy League school or didn't work for the World Bank or the IMF. The same mantra of widening the tax net. They made it look like some NASA mathematics that can be solved such that we can't widen the tax net. It's a net that can be widened.
If it's easy, it would have been done.
So why do you tell us in the budget all the time that you widen the tax net?
If it were easy.
If it's not easy, why do you tell us that?
Are we not taught in social studies? No, the social studies syllabus, everybody from JSS.
We know the problems about agriculture.
Of Ghana.
Agriculture, rainfall,
irrigation,
lack of equipment,
it is there.
Lack of resources.
But are we self-sufficient?
That's what I'm saying that. That's what I'm saying that. That's what I'm saying that. The kind of leadership we've had over the years, for me, has been the poorest in the world we've ever had in the years. Has been the poorest in the world. It's such that when they are in opposition, they tend to have the brilliant ideas. When they come into power, they do the different things. How can you explain to any person with any reason that there can be justification in having 123 ministers? There's some ministries that have as many as 4 ministers.
Okay.
How can you justify this? What's happening in this country such that it's rocket science that you can't crack it down that you need 123 people? Tell me, what's the role of how comes in? Building dams. Construction of dams and KVIPs is something that the Ministry of Local Government can do. What are you telling me?
For poverty
and it's a program that can be absorbed by any of the traditional ministries. What are you telling me? It's so sad that it's almost impossible to even identify even competent ministers these days. There are so many that I don't even know who is competent. Apart from the Deputy Minister, Dr. Educhum, and possibly the Agri Minister, that I'm seeing constant results. Majority of the ministers are highly incompetent. Okay. They are so highly incompetent and removed from the reality that they do not have solutions to our problem. And the system is such that it has become an enhanced procurement system. Do you understand? So our economic problems as we speak, for example, we would like to blame it on you didn't meet your financial targets, you didn't meet this target, so free SC. Why should free SC be taxed? I don't believe it should be touched. If you are raising issues of quality, you are raising issues of the double track and all that, it's a separate issue. You should have an alternative policy to that. I do not think that means testing makes sense because you do not have a system that can even track who qualifies for that, who doesn't qualify for that. We'll come to the police system, the police issue of recruitment soon. But even in Ghana, how do we even assess people who qualify for scholarships?
Okay.
How do you even identify those ones? Before saying that the whole broad program, you're supposed to do means testing. How to do it? It's like people go for all kinds of conferences and seminars and all kinds of schools and have all kinds of education and courses. And when they come, they just throw words into the system that is practicable and it's possible to achieve. But it's not possible.
When government announced times past that the tin number was going to be compulsory, people felt that was some form of,
What happened?
There was
you
a
said TIN number. We are going for your driver's license.
Yeah.
There is a TIN number.
But we saw
people are going for their licenses.
We saw the kind of opposition even from within government.
Even with the good point about
the TIN number. You have a certain.
We should have a proper scientific correlation between the positive effects of the TIN number and revenue generation. You have the TIN number, you're not achieving your revenue targets. What does it tell you?
Okay, let me move to Cecil now. ISSER Outlook government's response. What will be your own take on it?
Yeah, I will take it from another angle. I never knew that I was going to meet another firebrand, Franklin, but, well, he said it all. We are not too rich as a country, not for us to blame ourselves because
we are rich.
We don't have.
It's not.
I mean, competent leadership.
I mean, the rich I'm talking about is not because we are not seeing it. Yeah, but in terms of our natural resources, our human resource and everything, I think we are. But we are not too rich because of lack of some of the things you have talked about and his leadership. I agree with you, okay? But we outclass a number of African countries when it comes to our resources that we have. How come some of them have been able to position themselves where they are? We are blessed with a number of natural resources, from gold, timber, diamond,
everything we have, everything we have,
oil, even the land, fertile land that we have. Our women, they are so natural.
Our men are also natural.
We have
our
everything
natural.
Gentlemen, let's not digress.
No, I'm not even moving in
let's
that
not digress.
I'm just saying,
let's keep our eyes on the ball.
But everything about us in this country, we're blessed. But I have said that, you see, if you carry anything from its raw state, in an arrangement of what you call an export, you will make no returns on it if you don't add value to it.
Cecil, they know all this.
Oh, they know. No, Franklin, I agree. You see,
Franklin, please allow him.
This is where we live, in a country where we have taken everything out in its raw state and rather brought in value-added products that we have taken out, created jobs for people for them to make money, and they bring it back and we run after those products and we buy them. So you talk about unfavorable balance of payments in terms of exports, imports, receipts, and just as Franklin said, we know all of these things. But what is happening to us? Look, in this country, we bring in yemuade. You know yemuade? Intestines.
Which one is that?
Chicken. We bring in chicken legs, chicken thighs, chicken. We bring in cow intestines. We bring all the chop bars.
Used underwears.
Okay. All the chop bars running in this country, the yemuade they use for their tozafi and everything.
Has that got anything to do with the fact that we are not meeting our revenue targets? As he says,
I'm telling you,
it's
about our export-import receipts, and I've said it. Unfavorable balance of payments. Look, Duke, you have no idea. We don't manufacture anything in this country. We don't add value to anything in this country.
That's why there's one factory.
We take our oil. You mentioned all our resources that we have. We don't add value to any of them.
But that's why one district, one factory is being rolled out.
We
know the problem.
So happy.
At least we know that. The government is trying to address this problem.
I was so happy when I heard this policy, government policy, and I said, "Wow, bravo! I want to see." But it is not a palatable thing that we have observed. For I would wish that I will see it being taken to another level. Planting for food and jobs, planting for exports and rural development. Look, mention all of these. They are fantastic programs. But the point is that, are we seeing its returns? What must we do to make sure that we rake in more revenues as far as exports are concerned? Look, if we continue this way, like Franklin has said, he's made so much noise. I won't say noise, but he's touched on the very salient issues that will change our economy, that will bring us to a position where we can compete with the Asian tigers. Look, when you take 8 out of 10 Asians, trust me, 8 of them can use their hands to manufacture something.
That's due to good education. Is the free SHS not going to take us there?
I'm happy you talked about it. When you take the same 8 out of 10, trust me, you can't count 2 that can use their hands to manufacture. What does that tell you? It means that we are challenged in a way. I am happy that education, look, today I have spoken to a number of parents, and I can tell you, for taking their children to school and hearing the headmistress or headmaster announcing that everything from books, from this, has been absorbed by government is hooray. I clap for government. And I'm telling you, parents are relieved. But is that the only measure for which we can say that quality education will be achieved in this country? Others have said no, because there are other ingredients that will go into measuring. You understand what I mean by quality of education? Are we addressing those ones? Now, moving forward again, how do we make sure that we get out of that quagmire where we want to see ourselves competing with the Asian tigers, with Europeans? Look, don't forget that the World Bank, they have said it. In the next 20, 30 years, we cannot compete with the world market when it comes to job work.
Because the skills that
exactly, because of the kind of curriculum that we are running. So if we really want to turn this whole system around, look, we must be looking outside or thinking outside the box. Artificial intelligence. You know, we can go on and on and on. What are we doing to make sure that we achieve that level of sustainability to say that, yes, we can compete with Asian targets, we can compete with the Europeans, we can compete with the Americans?
Okay, let Anas have the last word on this issue.
Thank you very much, Duke. Government is a big spender because of the kind of projects, programs that the government has rolled out. Have we seen new and innovative ways of bringing in more money to take care of these spending? Not much has been done about that. So basically what I see coming from ISSER is that you have a big budget, you want to spend more, you are not getting in more revenue. What do? Cut down on your spending. Reviewing free senior high school. Maybe they have a proposal on how to review free senior high school without it affecting the beneficiaries who are the students and parents who are benefiting from it now.
How is that going to be done?
For instance, there is a possibility that ISSER, as part of their research or report, in a way found out that there are other avenues that government can explore to come and fund.
Well, they didn't put that out there.
Yeah, so government, I think ISSER is available. Government can engage them to get more on this so that government will know exactly what review ISSER will propose for it to be done. But any review of the free senior high school that will not give the beneficiary, that's the children, their parents, the aid to enjoy it, I am not in support of it. I went to a village school and I saw how people struggle to raise small money to go and pay fees. It's a relief.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the ministries. Honestly, I think that some of the ministries should be merged. Some of the ministries, a lot of them.
We are told the president is in no mood to cut down his
I'm not surprised because this is not the first time.
And he's justified it boldly in 2017 that
yes,
the job is huge, so he needs a huge.
But you see, if you look at what happened
government to be able
prior
to deal
to that, prior to that justification,
that won't judge him. Look at the results.
It was more a political talk from opposition and a cross-section of the public calling for the size of government to be reduced. Now, we have intellectuals who didn't just sit at home and cook a report. They went out there to do a professional job and they proposed something to government. And I think it's something the presidency government should look at and scrap some of the ministries.
Okay, let me bring Franklin, please. We've heard you. Now we need to hear our viewers. This one from Duke Mensah at Kota, Ayensiano district says, I disagree with ISSER on the issue of the re-examination of the free SHS because it is a social program which benefits us all. Meanwhile, the idea about cutting down on the ministers, I sincerely agree, because there are so many useless ministries doing nothing. 123 ministers for what? That's what you think, Duke Mensah. AI from Hachu says Nanado's government will crash Ghana's economy with its 1,001 ministers. Well, we don't have 1,001 ministers, so I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. Nana Yao from Aguna Asafo says, Duke, how many Ghanaians are willing to pay fees? That's one. Question number 2, how do we identify rich parents? 3, do you recall the free SHS support fund? How many people have willingly provided support to that effect? Well, I know Church of Christ recently, and another church recently put some money into that fund. So that's Nanaya from Aguna Asafo. And then Master Jude Senior from Enchi says, I wish to know the very cause of the falling standards of, the economy, the nature of the economy, and the benefits for taxing airtime, and why the economy is you should come again. Says, and the economy did so strong to carry out. Well, I don't exactly get what you're trying to say, Master Jude. Maybe you should come again. Last from Prince Henry Nkoforidia, with the ISSER report, I want to ask a simple question. If John Mahama was tagged as incompetent for using 2 ministers at the Ministry of Road and Transport, was able to build Terminal 3 and many other infrastructure under President Akufo-Addo, we have aviation, transport, railway, roads ministries with almost 10 ministers, but nothing to show. Who then is incompetent? If the president reduces ministers from over 120 to 90, we can save some money to fix the motorway and other deplorable roads in the country. That's Prince Henry from Koforidua. We'll take a break here and we'll come back to the last segment of the program. This is Press Conference on Citi TV. Stay with us. The channel is at the right place. This is Citi TV and this is Press Conference. My name is Duke Mensah Opoku. Journalists gather, we discuss the major press briefings in the course of the week under review. That's what we do here at Citi TV at this time of the day. I have in studio Franklin Badu Jnr. I have Seidu and Cecil Obodai Wentum. The last issue we're going to discuss tonight is from a press conference that was held by the minority in Parliament this week. They raised the alarm bells concerning what they term as secret recruitment into the security agencies. James Agalga is a former Deputy Minister for Interior. He now speaks for the minority on defense and interior matters. Let's hear him.
MPP is in government. And so when a secret recruitment exercise has been embarked upon, what conclusion do you want us to reach? The only logical conclusion that we can reach is that the MPP government is recruiting its cronies. And that is why they don't want to advertise the recruitment process so that the generality of the Ghanaian people would put in applications. And if they were using the e-recruitment model, the selection would be computer-based. So the level of human involvement would be brought down to the barest minimum. That way, people other than those connected to government would be selected.
The government's view at this point in time is that the free SHS program is a heritage of the Ghanaian child. It's not something that is being given necessarily to the poor parent today. It has nothing to do with the financial status of your parent. It is a heritage of the Ghanaian.
First, we saw James Agalga, MP for Busa South. Busa North, yes. Sorry about the wrong insert that came after. That was Kojo Ponkruma. I was actually going to play for you Ambrose Derry, Minister for Interior, responding to the minorities' claims on this. He says that it's just a backlog from the 2017 recruitment that government has now given clearance for another batch to be recruited instead of conducting a recruitment exercise all over again. They are just going into the backlog from the previous years and allowing them to come in. And as that makes sense, right? You spoke to the Minister for Interior.
Yes. I will not say entirely that his response or answers, reasons for this quote-unquote secret recruitment made sense actually to me. We've seen in some cases this year they will publish or advertise for people to buy forms into the service. The next year, then we see people again buying forms to go into the service. So the reason given for going to clear the backlog may be fine, but I think they were supposed to inform the public. Publish it and let people know that the recruitment exercise is ongoing, but we are going back into the pool of people who bought forms. Their names are still in the system. That would have been. But for him to come after the minority raised some suspicions in the whole thing. But Duke, let me say something. Let me dare James Agaga, the ranking member for the Defense and Interior Committee, dare Ambrose Derry, that they should come out and tell us that none of them, the minority and majority, they've never sent a list of people to the IGP to recruit into the service. They should come.
Which means that this has been going on.
This is a practice. It's a practice that has been going on, and if Agaga is honest, he will tell you that during his time, it happened. Even in opposition, there are people who are members of the committee, even people who are not members of the committee, but they have a way of pushing their own people into the various security services. We've seen people go back, MPs, go back to their constituencies, and as part of their achievement, they state that they were able to get 30 people into police, 40 people into the military, 10 people into maybe the prison service. And it's an achievement. And we hail them for that. So my point is that what the minority is saying, I don't have evidence to put forth, but it is something, a monster that they inherited, nurtured, and transferred to these people, and I think they are now coming back to cry foul. But the danger of it is that we are putting people into the system who are coming back to govern us or who are coming back to take care of our security. The danger is that somebody told me just yesterday, somebody who was there when a list came, the person said there are some who didn't pass any of the core subjects, but they are going to be recruited as police officers. Okay,
that's serious. Let me come to Franklin for want of time.
So, what's the minority led by Mr. Agaga delivered at their press conference is what I want to describe as evil hypocrisy. Evil.
Why?
Sheer evil hypocrisy, because everybody knows that there's a system that runs out of that e-system. That e-system is just a simple facade, so that there's always a waiting list prior to recruitment. So when an opportunity or window opens, that list enters. And there are members of the opposition and current members of government, public servants, journalists, everyone alike, who submit names of people who possibly enter into the police. If you want a proper system which is clean of political interference, you can call for that. But I wouldn't expect that from someone like James Agaga, who so pretended over a system where people were recruited into the police. See, what's happening right now is their suspicion may be right. People may be entering the police who are not necessarily aligned to them or from their stock, so they are concerned.
But this backlog argument,
and I'm saying
if you recruited somebody 2 years ago, the person's health status might have changed.
That's what I'm saying. That.
So how are you saying you are going back into a backlog?
The truth
Immigration
is
and others
recruitment to security services is never clean. That's the whole truth. So I don't expect Agaga to come and pretend to be Pope Francis of the security services such that he has no idea that there's a system that he should pretend over. That was equally an unfair system. That's equally being expanded now and claiming to have no knowledge of it and claiming for the right thing to be done. Even his proposal is even questionable. So I'm saying he's been a hypocrite in this particular issue, And I don't expect him to even speak on anything recruitment in the police. Look,
Okay.
it's so big that,
All
if you remember, a former commissioner of police had to be sacked from the police.
Yes.
Recruitment.
Recruitment,
This issue.
Timbela.
And was under this same Agaga.
All right. Cecil, you have the last word on
I
this.
think,
And please
Franklin, and
be
as
quick.
all
Yeah.
of them have said it, is the level of hypocrisy which has been shown and exposed. These two political parties have demonstrated this to a different level, depending on who is in power and who is in opposition. And we have all witnessed the backlash anytime it happens. But don't forget that not too long ago, there was a sitting member of parliament who actually openly went viral on social media, attacking one of such security institutions, to the point that there was a response that came from that security institution to let him know that he cannot bring his buffoon to that institution, because there are measures and there are procedures that are followed when it comes to. But we have seen recruitments into some of these institutions, and we have known how some of these political figures or actors have played a part in getting some of their foot soldiers employed into some of these institutions. So it's another way of, showing a bit of hypocrisy on that part. And I'm happy that, that my colleagues have identified it. It happens both ways, whether it's MPP in power or it's NDC in
So
power.
the politicians must end the hypocrisy.
We must look at a very formidable way of getting people recruited on merit.
All right.
Into our security.
The press.
Okay. We'll end with this message from Val at Tebibiano. It says, "Good evening to you and your panelists. You are doing a great job. Greetings to you at home for doing the watching. My name is Duke Mensah Opoku. I had in studio Franklin Badu Jnr. And I Seidu, security correspondent here at Citi FM and Citi TV, and the host of the Breakfast Drive on Unique FM. Cecil, Obodai, Wentum. That's how we wrap up this week's edition. Join us same time next week. Until then, enjoy the rest of our programming and keep watching Citi TV.